888-978-2267. Visit ArmyResortsUSA.com. That's ArmyResortsUSA.com. Individual results may vary. Past performance is no guarantee of future results.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Cars for Kids is not just for cars. We accept all kinds of real estate, too. Vacant land, homes, commercial properties, we've handled them all. Got an unused property racking up bills? Consider donating it to Cars for Kids. It's easy, and Cars for Kids takes over all expenses. Best of all, you'll get a tax deduction for the full appraised value of your property. Act now because time is running out to secure your 2023 tax deduction. Visit carsforkidsrealestate.org. That's cars with a K.
Start Saturday strong with Big News Saturday on Fox. Dylan Gabriel has Oklahoma back on top of the Big 12.
This could be a good one, folks.
The 6th-ranked Surging Sooners face off against the Jayhawks in a tough road test.
Listen to this crowd.
It all starts at 10 a.m. Eastern with Big Noon Kickoff.
Baby, let's go.
The best pregame, the best announcers, the biggest games. Oklahoma, Kansas, Saturday at noon Eastern on Fox. Sirius XM.
Listening to Sirius XM Radio.
You know, one of the things we love about Jamie Dimon is he's seen as a straight shooter, particularly when it comes to his own industry. And let's face it, the Federal Reserve is the bank's own industry. So he's over in Saudi Arabia, and he just gives it to us straight about all of these central banks that control our lives. This is what he says they're doing wrong. Take a listen.
I want to point out that central banks 18 months ago were 100% dead wrong. Okay, so maybe there should be humility about financial forecasting. I would be quite cautious about what might happen next year.
Dead wrong. I mean, golly, how many times have I said that? Just think about this. I mean, the Federal Reserve in America, they have more PhDs than any other entity out there, like 500 PhDs, and somehow they can never get this right. I want to bring a Discipline Funds founder and CIO, Colin Roach. And Colin, I mean, what do you make of what Dimon had to say?
I mean, it's hard to argue with it. And the problem with the way that the Fed operates is that they're so data dependent, you know, so they're beholden to Congress. They have to go and testify and justify everything they say, and they have to be able to really back it with evidence. And the problem with that is that that sort of an approach is inherently rear-view mirror looking. So they don't have the luxury that, you know, an asset manager or a lot of us have, where we can be forward-looking. We have to, by necessity, make some estimates about what's coming down the pike here. And the Fed can't operate like that. So they use this rear-view mirror-looking approach, why a lot of the times their perspectives end up lagging.
But they say, listen, they've got business contacts. Obviously, if Jay Powell calls anyone in the country, they're picking up the phone, right? Maybe Taylor Swift might put him on hold. But I mean, it's like, you see, like, what team has he played for? But no, I'm just joking. I'm going down the wrong path here. But, you know, but we live with their consequences. This what bothers me is the American public, particularly poor people, you know, and middle-class folks who are struggling have to live with the consequences of them in the ivory towers and not counting gasoline, not counting food. You know, it's a difficult coexistence.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you could argue that right now is one of the most interesting periods because, and this is part of the problem, I think, the underlying data that the Fed looks at, because it's sort of inherently rearview mirror looking, they can't look at things like, for instance, right now, there's a strong disinflationary trend in sheltering. We know, and this is the thing that kind of irks me about this, is that, and it was one of the reasons why I was very vocal about the Fed having to raise rates back in 2021, is that the Fed doesn't look at a lot of real-time indices. Like, you can look at shelter, for instance. Real-time rent indices are cratering now. They've been at zero for almost a year now. Back in 2022, the exact opposite was happening, and in the BLS CPI data, all of this lags, shelter especially. It's a 35% component that lags by 6 to 9 months. But rather than looking at the real-time data, like Zillow rent indices, for instance, they're looking at this rear-view mirror-looking data, and they end up being behind the curve. And so looking forward right now, it's kind of interesting. They were behind the curve in 2021 because they were looking at this lagging data. And now we're almost in sort of the same situation where inflation has started to turn over, and all the shelter data, which is going to put a huge disinflationary force on inflation going down, going forward, is now in the same sort of position. So the Fed is ultra tight, and everything's starting to look sort of disinflationary to me.
So I got less than a minute to go. What's your outlook against that backdrop, against what you see coming? It's almost like watching a football game in slow motion, right? You see the pass, you see the receiver, and you know if they catch it, what's going to happen. I mean, what's going to happen with this play that we're watching play out in slow motion?
Yeah, we don't all have hands like Travis Kelce, right? So, or girlfriends like Taylor Swift, more importantly. But, you know, the weird thing going forward now is that what the Fed has created is this environment where the outcomes now get riskier and riskier. This is part of the difficult thing with Fed policy and when they're raising interest rates is that credit contracts lag and they update over time. And the longer the Fed keeps things really tight, the riskier things get in terms of contracts having to roll over and re-up at all of these higher rates. And that's a really slow process. So the more the Fed grinds this screw, the riskier everything gets the longer we get out across the credit maturity curve and things have to roll over.
Yeah. Colin, thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks, Charles.
All right, folks, time now for some Money Mail. Of course, always love hearing from you. Ken is asking, I never hear anyone mention CDs. Are they a good option in today's market? I think it's a great question, although I think these T-bills and bonds are better, particularly with certain tax circumstances. Remember, if you have any kind of questions or comments, always tweet me at CDPayne. And I have to tell you, I've got a very exciting announcement. I will be hosting next Monday's show at the Money Show in Orlando. I'll also be there signing books as well, Unbreakable Investor. So go to moneyshow.com or charles.moneyshow.com, either of those, for more information. If you're in Orlando, let's get together. It's going to be a lot of fun. Meanwhile, coming up here, my takeaway on redefining the American dream to fit into a tiny budget. We don't want to do that. But first, this is the moment of truth, folks. We got a couple of major companies reporting earnings after the close. Really, this could be the start of the fourth quarter rally. It could be more disappointment. We'll see right after the break.
I devoted a decade of my life to perfecting bed sheets. A crazy waste of time, right? Look, our homes are our sanctuaries. So I started asking a million questions like, what's the coziest fabric we can make, the comfiest design? How do we embody real luxury? Create lasting pieces? Basically, how do we make your sanctuary your favorite spot in the world? And can we do that in an environmentally friendly way? This is Tyler, and that's why I created Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth brings you the softest and most comfortable sheets, towels, PJs, joggers, and more, guaranteed. Cozy Earth only sources high-end textiles like premium bamboo viscose, giving you super soft, breathable, moisture-wicking fabric, regulating your body temperature and keeping you comfortable all day and all night. The idea took off, and now Cozy Earth is one of Oprah's favorite things 5 years running. Try it once and you'll be hooked.
Go to CozyEarth.com and enter code SXM for up to 40% off. That's CozyEarth.com with code SXM. CozyEarth.com.
Hey, Kelly Slater here. Some of you may know me as a professional surfer, but today I want to talk to you about my clothing company, I Don't Know. I've been